So today I'm out here in beautiful Malibu, California, where Subaru has just taken the wraps off of the latest family member of the Outback family. Right behind me is the all-new 2022 Outback Wilderness. This is a new off-road capable version of the Outback that has an extra nearly inch of ground clearance, some skid plates underneath, some knobbier wheels and tires, and just a unique look on the outside, on the inside. So let's take a first look. Now, the Outback has been a pretty important part of Subaru's lineup. This is the company's best-selling model, although last year it technically was outsold by the Subaru Forester because they did around 153,000 of these in America, whereas the Forester did around 174,000. But still, this new Wilderness model will be a nice addition to the family. You should expect to see this, of course, spread out into perhaps the Forester and the Crosstrek model, but let's take a look at what the changes are on the outside that Subaru has made for the Wilderness version. As you can see, approaching the front end of this car, the new front fascia definitely is a lot more distinctive. This color is called Geyser Blue. It's unique to the Wilderness model. You can see there's this kind of hood graphic that you get standard. It's painted in it's a flat black color, which goes really well with the Wilderness Blue. You got the standard LED headlights, which have the adaptive swiveling function, and you also have these new LED fog lights, which have a 6-point LED diode. There's some copper trim here, of course, to show important areas like tow hooks and where you can find them, and just add a little bit more contrast. The grille is also unique on the Wilderness models, where you have this hexagonal shape. The openings have been enlarged to allow for more cooling, because remember, this does come standard with the turbocharged engine, which should give it the capability and acceleration that owners are looking for. Now, backing away, you can see the front fascia has been changed. The front and rear bumpers have been modified to allow for a better approach and departure angle, which of course is going to improve off-road capability. Underneath the vehicle, there are new skid plates. The front skid plate is standard. You can also add in a skid plate for the differential, for the oil pan, for the fuel tank. Those are dealer accessories, which Subaru says will also be available on non-Wilderness versions of the Outback. Now, looking at the wheel and tire package, this is an important part of being an off-road capable model. These unique wheels that you see are 17-inch design. They're painted in a flat black. I like the way they look. They also look great with the Yokohama Geolandar all-terrain tires. As you can see here, Subaru has modified the suspension of this car to give us an extra 0.8 inches of ground clearance for a total of 9.5. This makes it, again, the highest factory ground clearance of any station wagon in the industry. So that's a pretty cool feat. I love how Subaru is basically giving us an off-road capable wagon straight from the factory, which means the ride and handling won't be affected by an aftermarket setup, and the Subaru Eyesight driver assistance technology won't be affected. Now, you can see around the side profile there are some new fender flares, which does improve or increase the width of this car. It's now 1.5 inches wider versus a non-adventure or Wilderness version of the Outback. The roof rails, you can see, have also been modified to handle a little bit extra loads. This will now carry a maximum of 700 pounds on the roof, and you can also get in a sunroof that's part of an option package that rolls in navigation and reverse automatic braking. Over at the rear profile, you can see the Wilderness model looks equally more aggressive. The rear taillights are the same, but the rear bumper, like I said earlier, has been modified with a little bit additional cladding. It has that same flat black look to it, and more of that copper trim around the back. And you can see some of the Subaru logos here have been blacked out, which definitely gives it a much more aggressive look. There's the very large Wilderness badge at the back that's also on the front fenders, which again will remind everybody that you have a special version of the Outback. And then when you open up the trunk area, you can see cargo capacity hasn't changed. The Outback's remained a practical vehicle, and at 32.5 cubic feet with the second rows up. If you fold down the second row seats, Subaru says you get around 75.6 cubic feet, which is a little bit more than what you're gonna find in most of your compact SUVs. One area that Subaru really surprised me at is if you look underneath the floor here, they did include a full-size spare tire on the Wilderness models, which is going to be an important thing if you guys plan to actually go off-roading, and in case you get a flat tire, you're going to be really thankful that there's a full-size spare in there. Now, changes to the outside wouldn't be complete unless Subaru made some changes on the inside. So let's go ahead and pop the door here and see what Subaru has done. As you can see, the StarTex leatherette material that comes on the Onyx XT is actually standard here, which means the interior is basically waterproof, where you can actually get it wet, you can clean it out if you guys plan to do a lot of mudding or you plan to go to a lot of dirt roads. And you can see the interior color is also slightly unique. I really like those copper accents that you find, the contrasting stitching. You also kind of have the hexagonal shape that's kind of mimicked onto these seats. You have this Subaru Wilderness badge embroidered into the back of the seat headrest. And you can see more copper trim that you'll find on the shifter, on the steering wheel, and even some on the door panels where you even have this little tag there that reminds you constantly that you bought a special version of the Outback. Now, having an extra inch of ground clearance means the step-in height is even easier as I get into this vehicle. It really feels a lot like I'm getting into a crossover. And you can see my Tester does come, or this particular one does come with an 8-way power driver's seat, but no 2-person memory. So this is not similar to what you're gonna find in a touring version. This is going to slot between an Outback Onyx XT and a touring model. When I shut the door, it has the same solid sounding thunk that I remember in other Outbacks. And in terms of the infotainment tech, this is of course the Subaru Starlink headliner with the 11.6-inch display. I don't actually have the key, so I can't show you guys what it looks like when it's on, but watch one of my other Subaru videos, you'll be able to see that. The Subaru Eyesight system will be standard, but if you guys are again noticing, there is no eyebrow here that has the Subaru facial recognition system. That is only included on the touring version of this car. Seats are just heated, so if you're looking for the ventilated seats, you're gonna have to go for the touring model. And I'm also noticing if you're looking for the Harman Kardon stereo, Subaru is not offering the Harman Kardon stereo on this particular trim. You kind of have to, again, step up to the limited or to the XT touring version of this car. But overall, you can see the interior is still pretty nice. It has all the tech that you expect in today's modern cars. This will have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I like a lot of the, trim pieces here in the copper finish, and you can really see that the car sits up higher, which is definitely going to give this more of an off-road ready SUV kind of feel. In the back seat area of the Outback Wilderness, things haven't really changed as well. You're still going to get around 39.5 inches of legroom, which is plentiful for the class. And just like the front, the seat materials are the same. You have that hexagonal pattern in the actual seat. This is the StarTex leatherette material. You actually have heated back seats, which I wasn't expecting. You have 2 USB ports, 2 rear seat air vents, 2 map pockets. The seats themselves have a really nice plush feel to them. Even though this is a synthetic leather, Subaru says this is water resistant, and it also does a really great job of resisting heat. So again, the Outback remains a practical vehicle, and it also offers plenty of space in the second row. Now, underneath the hood of the Outback Wilderness, this is going to come standard, of course, with the turbocharged engine. The fact that they made the turbo standard shows that Subaru really wants to appeal, of course, to the off-road enthusiasts. This motor is the perfect engine output, of course, for the Outback. The base motor, which I also sampled, felt a little bit underpowered. This, however, will not feel underpowered. In fact, Subaru has even updated the Lineartronic CVT with a lower final drive ratio, which should improve acceleration, which should improve torque multiplication, of course, when you're off-roading. It still makes the same 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. Remember, this is a direct injection Boxer 4 that puts out around 14.5 pounds of boost. In terms of carb weight, Subaru says that this weighs in at around 3,900 pounds, so it actually weighs the same as the standard Outback, but they did, of course, lower the final drive ratio because of the knobbier tires. Subaru says that fuel economy also is rated at 22 in the city, 26 on the highway. That did come down a little bit from 30 mpg on the highway because of those tires and because of the increased ground clearance. They just have more rolling resistance. But if you guys plan to do a lot of crossover SUV things, this will still tow a maximum of 3,500 pounds. Now, Subaru didn't have any final pricing just yet for the Outback Wilderness model, but they did say that this will be going on sale in late spring. So it should be heading to your local dealerships probably by May. And I'm curious to know on the pricing because, as you guys know, the Onyx Edition Outback, which I always thought was kind of the sweet spot, had a starting price of around $35,000. A Touring XT is going to come in at around $40,000. My estimation is this Wilderness model will slot in between those vehicles, so maybe around the $37,000, $38,000 mark. I am sad that they didn't include some of the features from the touring version of this car, but most people who are going to be buying the Wilderness models are probably going to be expecting this car to be doing more overlanding, to be going farther, of course, off the beaten track, because even though Subaru says this is not going to be competing, of course, with some Jeep Rubicon versions, the extra nearly inch of ground clearance, the skid plates, the upgraded suspension, the knobbier wheels and tires, the upgraded look on the outside, I think this is a really worthy addition to the Subaru Outback family, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing this application being added to maybe a Crosstrek or Forester when this model does go on sale in the next couple of months. With all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this brief first look overview on the 2022 Subaru Outback Wilderness model. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.